designed to see if it fits.
Oh, okay. And give me one of your napkins, would you? Yeah, just for
Well, it's all about time, y'all. We'll call this meeting to order and get going. Don't have to stand with the microphone, so if everybody will speak up, us hard-hearing guys can probably carry on our regular conversation. I want to welcome you to the High Noon Discussion Group. Meets every Monday at this time at H&H. I've asked Paul Kelly to lead the pledge and Ray Kemple to say a prayer for us. If you would, please stand.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Father, we pause again before you, saying thank you for your grace, for your mercy. Father, we look to you for guidance. Father, we're in a terrible mess, but not to you. Because you're in charge, you know what's going to happen, you know where our beginning and ending is. And so, Father, we pray for us to understand that you, Lord, are real. And Father, you have our end. Thank you, Jesus, for allowing us to live in America. And Father, we pray that we will be good stewards in our lifetime of what you've given us. Thank you so much, Lord. It is your name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. Attention to colors and salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't see any new people. I recognize most all the faces that are here today, and so we don't have to get into that. We do have, I want to make sure, I've got some indications, we've got several announcements that need to be made. So if you have an announcement, why stick up your hand and stand and tell us about it.
Okay, 2A meeting finally tomorrow night, 6:30 here. You got it.
Any others? Bob got one.
Here a couple of years ago, my wife and myself would change churches. We belonged to this one church for 30 years. I mean, we had a good church and nice people. You become friends with different people in the church. But what happens to a lot of us, we get politically active, and the church didn't want to be politically active. If Bob Davey got ready to be politically active, the church was not ready to be politically active. The bottom line. And then what happens, us that become politically active, we start bashing the churches that are not politically active, okay? But there's been churches around for years that have been politically active, okay? That kind of. So when I get ready to do something, that doesn't necessarily mean that Don's ready to do something, or Ray's ready to do something. It's just that I'm ready to do something, okay? So after making that proclamation, I had to change churches twice. Really? Now, the church didn't change. I had to change twice. And what I'm going to say, to grow up. To kind of grow up a little bit, okay? Been involved with churches, and we started churches. I've been involved in one of them deals, and I can appreciate everybody wanting to start their own church, and I highly recommend don't do that, okay? That's a very, sounds good on paper, but it's a very, as Ray would, I think, would support me in that effort, not to do that, okay? So now me saying all this stuff, today I go to Crossroads Baptist Church. Today. Is a church? No, I can assure you it's not, because I showed up with it. Okay? I'm the one that showed up, so I damaged the church one more time. So they had to take on the membership of me the same way, and all my liabilities, not my assets, my liabilities, okay? So, but me being so politically active, I'm going to try to stop my political activism because it's very frustrating, okay? We need a vacation from it most of the time, okay? The ones that don't take a vacation from it become angry and mean and bitter, and so your evangelical part of what you think you are as a Christian, it's gone. You've lost it. You've made an enemy of getting back into the game. Now, what I want to do, though, is I want to do it, modify my anger towards certain movements or whatever. Okay, try to get along. But the Quill Springs Baptist Church, I'm really proud that they're actually doing this, because they're never going to be a politically active church like some of the others that I think ought to be. Okay, I'll just say it that way. Okay, I understand that. They're not going to be. And that's not their purpose. They didn't start out when they ordained that church to be politically active. They ordained it to be a ministry of proclaiming people, to bring people to Jesus Christ. That was the whole idea, evangelism, okay, that part. So anyway, but they're going to have a special event on April the 1st, or November the 1st, and it's going to be, it's about Benghazi. It's the Shadow Warrior. It's a night with Benghazi, and they call him Hero, and I don't know if he's a hero or not. I don't like that word, hero. Mark Guest, he was one of the guys at Benghazi, and he's the guy that actually wrote the book. Was it 13 hours or something about Benghazi stuff? But it's part of this ministry that Quill Springs Baptist Church is. And I really thank the pastor for allowing this to go on, because this is going to anger certain people, because there's Democrats in the church, and Republicans, some independents or whatever. But this is a way to kind of, what I'm going to say, to kind of subtly move on into the church and get some of these thoughts, some of these political thoughts. So anyway, they're putting on this dinner, and I told them that put it on, that I would help them sell tickets, promote the program or whatever. So what I've done, I've got tickets here, they're $15 a piece. I would highly suggest that if we want to be active in communities, not only Quill Springs Baptist Church, we need to go to some of the other churches that are doing these kind of little movements like this, because they're little subtle movements that we know that we're doing within the church. But it should be a fun night, because you'll have the opportunity to hear him. He's only going to be here one night. He's going to be in and out. It's been great to have him come to like High Noon or Old Pack or some of the other, 912s or some of the other kind of stuff. But this guy's going all over the country. But he does have this ministry, and it is a type of ministry, because what they're supporting, when you go into combat or you go into these maneuvers and stuff, the government, if you wind up getting killed, hey, the government's going to fly you back. I mean, they're going to put you in a body bag and we're going to fly you back. If you're a private contractor, you're on your own, buddy. Which kind of surprised me. I didn't realize, I would even thought that some of the companies you're working for and contracting for would help you. No, that's not the case. That's kind of what this is all about, this ministry. He's going to discuss that in his presentation, all this stuff. And remember, our contractors is important to our national defense as our warriors, what we're going to call our military service and our warriors. So again, the tickets are $15 a piece. And I've got them here for sale. I've bought bunches of them, okay, to do it myself and that kind of deal. But if you'd like to have a ticket, and I appreciate Don giving me all this time to talk about this deal, but anyway, they're $15 a piece for you and your wife, or you and your friend, or whoever you want to do, or to give them away. And again, it's going to be November the 1st at 7:30 p.m. The doors open at 6:45. It's a dinner deal, okay? Thank you.
And where is it located?
It's a Quill Springs Baptist Church. Huh?
I just meant an address.
Oh, I'll get you that later.
That's okay.
On May Avenue. Yeah, it's on May Avenue. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Jerome, did you have an announcement?
Are you going to speak about that?
No,
Yeah, I do. Next Saturday, I will be at the American Education and Action Study Group. I'll be playing a 38-minute DVD called Enemies of the State, and I guarantee you, it will shock you to the bones. It is called Enemies of the State, and we are morphing in that direction, whether we believe it or not. So please, 38 minutes, come. We're going to have a truncated deal, and also Don is going to announce that the apologies later.
We're going to talk about it.
Clouds Over America is coming up here. You want me to do that, Don?
Yeah, please.
Clouds Over America is coming up this coming Saturday. It will be at 1:30 at the Reed Center in Midwest City. It is a dynamic overview. I've given out flyers right here of the speakers. This is the activism. This is the real grassroots activism through local, good, patriotic, conservative individuals, liberty and freedom, and anti-collectivist types that are putting this on, and I guarantee you, we have got to pull together and get informed, because the uninformed is so easily misinformed. Therefore, it'll go to about 5 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock, the John Birch Society has got a national council dinner. It's at the Reed Center, and Mr. Art Thompson will be the featured speaker. There's a young lady, I don't know anything about her, but she'll also be speaking. And so I'll tell you what, you want to really get informed and really become a puller at the oar and against the anti-New World Order, become a member of the John Birch Society, I guarantee you. They are solid as the Rock of Gibraltar. I know, we've been given all the rough future names in the world, just like Joe McCarthy got. But the New World Order controls the news media, and I'll stop there. Thanks, Don.
Thank you. Any other announcements that need to be made? Well, all right, I've got one that I want to make. The Heritage Foundation is having a foundation dinner. The National Heritage Foundation is having a dinner here in Oklahoma City at the Golf Court Hotel this next Wednesday evening from 8 to, no, let's see, 6 to 9:30. Well, the ticket says 8 to 9:30, so that's the dinner. No, it is 6 to 9:30. Okay. Stand corrected. And I'm not sure, I assume that it's probably open to the public, but I can supply you with the email address so that you can go and check it out and make sure that the public is invited. I'm reasonably sure they are, but I don't know that. I haven't checked it out. So if anybody's interested, why, see me after the meeting and I'll give you that email address. Okay. I guess that's the extent of that. At this time, I'm going to turn the podium over to our presenter, Mr. Dave Mehlhaff, who's going to talk about us paying attention and getting involved in our own self-defense in your neighborhood, in your community where you live. Dave, I hope that's a good introduction for you.
Yeah, that works for me.
For you.
You could have just said, what's his name's coming up here? What's his name? Finkelstein is my alias. Finkelstein. You will not want to miss Sidney Powell on Saturday night. She's the one that wrote that book called License to Lie. Wow. Anybody read that? Get a copy in your local library. It's about the Enron deal and how the Department of Justice just ripped them a new one. It was crazy. And she did the investigation on that. It is quite a story. And she understands what's going on. License to lie. I mean, they're throwing people in jail. You guys have heard the story. They're throwing people in jail that are completely innocent of anything. And that's exactly what they did. And then they do the DOJ, and they advance the cause of those who are prosecuting, and then just work them up the ranks in the DOJ. So you got criminals running the DOJ. What a surprise. Yeah. Right? Federal government. So I am Deb Mehlhaff's husband, Martha and Willis's boy. There's two of me. He's seen that before. Oh my goodness. I always tell people that there's two of me running around, so you all can be praying for my mother. She brought my twin brother and I home. We were born on December 30th, 1960. When she took Doug and I home, there was a 13-month-old Stu that was waiting on us, and a 4-year-old Charlie. And my mom walks around like this because every time she sat food down, just a portion of that finger went further, got smaller and smaller because the fish were biting. Another bad joke. Hello? Anybody out there? I'm here to entertain you today. So anyway, I'm a South Dakota boy. Grew up in South Dakota. My wife, born there as well, and our two daughters, born and raised there as well. Spent 5 years in Iowa where I taught and coached. A couple of years in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, where I ran a Christian school there, Wesleyan Christian School, elementary education. People ask me all the time how I got to Oklahoma, and I say U-Haul. Can you sit right here in front, because you're really not there. But it was just one of those deals where God got a hold of my life, and I decided I was going to follow no matter what He said, no matter what the circumstances looked like in my life. And I'm teaching a secondary business education at Central Line High School in Northwest Iowa. And I go down to, like I said, Bartlesville. I'm running this Christian school for 2 years, and I had no clue what Christian education was all about. Got an athletic administration degree, my master's in athletic admin. So when my former pastor, when I was in graduate school in South Dakota State, called, he was now pastoring in Bartlesville, asked if I'd ever considered Christian ed. I said, no. Well, he said, I'll give you 2 weeks. If the Lord changes your mind, call me back. 2 weeks later, I called him back. I said, we probably need to do this thing. So that's what got us to Oklahoma. Spent some time at Christian Heritage Academy, taught and coached there for 4.5 years. I was the development director there as well. And then from there, I went over and started joining church staffs. I was on staff at First Southern for a while. Served with Lifeway Christian Resources. I was an associate staffer with the National Center for Fathering out of Kansas City with Ken Canfield. Oklahoma Men of Integrity, ran all that when I was doing the men's ministry stuff. Served on the board with the National Coalition of Men's Ministries. Traveled all over the country, training men how to be better dads and speaking on the issue of fatherhood. So that is a little bit about me. Since then, good grief, when I left First Southern, some of you know this story. Kind of what you were talking about, when the church, kind of sits on their hands, this, that, and the other thing. A number of different things, but I ran a lawn care landscape company for about 1.5 years. While I was doing the Lifeway and the National Center for Fathering initiative, I was traveling all over the country, and so I'd come back, was able to do some lawn care for a company, ran a hunting resort, and I don't hunt. So that right there is a confirmation that God knows what He's doing. Seriously, because the guy that was running the resort, I just touched down in Indianapolis at the National Coalition of Men's Ministries at our annual convention for a board meeting, and the guy, a friend of ours, called and said he's okay, but he got shot. He got shot in the back of the leg. So for 2 months, I ran the resort, the hunting resort, while he laid in bed and recuperated. You know how guys are with guns, coming out and talking about all the numbers and all the ammo size and all that. And I'm just. How many quail did you want? How many pheasants did you want? I'll catch them and release them. So that's what I kind of about. Worked a little bit with Vision America, Rick Scarborough from Vision America. That was the year that Coburn was running for the Senate back in 2004. As a result of that effort, was serving as a liaison between pastors and the political process. More about what Bob was talking about. And I was at the Metro Library Commission meeting when they were discussing, which is actually coming back up again, heads up. They're bringing it before the Library Commission again. Whether or not to mainstream gay and lesbian themed homosexual books, LGBTQ, now in the library. And they're going to address that again, so you guys want to be proactive and all that. And while I'm sitting at that meeting, I'm looking across the table at the Oklahoma County Commissioner that chaired that committee. Happened to be Jim Roth. And I remember saying to myself, I thought it was just me, but God heard it. And I said, somebody needs to take care of that guy. And the Lord said, that's you, Bubba. I said, no way. I knew He'd called me into the political arena, but I didn't know it was going to be that one. I was actually going to go back to South Dakota and challenge Tom Daschle for that Senate seat back there. I was going to grab my carpet bag and go, oh my goodness, call security and let them in. Remember when I said Exhibit A? This is it right here. So I was indoctrinated into the political arena. I did everything I possibly could to get away from running for that office. Ended up running, knocked on 8,923 doors, wore out 1 bike seat, lost 15 pounds. Lost the election 68% to 32%, 30,000 votes to 18,000 votes, raised $15,000, spent $87 cents per vote. Whereas my opponent raised $325,000, and money was coming from all over the country.
New York City.
For little New York, Dallas, Houston, LA, you name it, Philadelphia, Seattle, it was coming from all over.
Awesome.
I'd go down to the Ethics Commission and look at his giving report and think, So anyway. I could tell all kinds of stories about that routine, but so anyway, the kicker in the whole thing was I made a deal with God that I would I would rather go down and share my faith with the man than run against him. And so that's what I did. And I went down there the first time and he failed to show for the appointment. I could have said, you know what? Game over, I'm done. I've done what I could possibly do. I made another appointment. So I went down there and saw him again, sat there for an hour and spoke with him. And the interesting thing, you guys know who Jim Roth is, right?
Yeah.
Well, Roth is German, Mehlhaff is German. He grew up Lutheran, I grew up Lutheran. He grew up in the Midwest, I grew up in the Midwest. God just kept bringing these commonalities to the surface that we could sit and talk about. And I said, let me share with you how God rescued me from Lutheranism. And I shared my testimony with the guy. And so then we talked a little bit more, and I asked him how it is that, let's see, you know, as we talked, I said, well, I'm considering challenging you for this position. And he said, you could have told me that when you came in here. And I said, I didn't come in here to tell you that. I came in here to tell you that your lifestyle is an abomination to Almighty God. Because I asked him, I said, how is it that you know that you're homosexual?
Yeah.
He says, well, I was contrary to the statistics. I was never abused by my dad, and I just knew that I was always a little bit different. I was never abused, and I had a healthy relationship with my dad. So, again, I shared with him, and just basically told him, I said, listen, Almighty God loves you, but he hates the sin. How do you reconcile that? He kept saying, with the love of God. And all I could say was, he loves you, like I do. Well, I left that meeting, and we prayed, and I left that meeting, and of course, the word got out. And so then the liberal media started contacting me, and they wanted to interview me for the election. And I said, great, come on down, I don't do phone interviews. So the first media source that called was a LGBTQ active, proactive media. And I was officing over in Del City at the time, and the guy came in and he said, I just have a couple questions for you. I won't take a whole lot of your time. I said, no worries. Do you mind if I record it? I said, not at all. Not at all. So he sat his recorder down and he said, have a seat. So he had a seat. And then he, let me see if I've got it here. Yeah. So he started asking questions. I said, hold on. Just before you start, I've got a couple questions for you. Well, no, I came to interview you. I said, you can when I'm done interviewing you. So I asked him, I set this piece of paper, which has got the 8 diagnostic questions to determine whether or not you've got a biblical worldview or not. I'm sitting in an office not much bigger than that table. And I just crossed my legs and I laid them right there. And I read the first question. Do absolute moral truths exist? Well, wait a minute, I came to interview you. And I said, I've got 7 more. 7 more. So if you can answer that, that'd be awesome. And he kind of fumbled around a little bit. Then he hesitated and he barked a little bit about he was coming to interview me, and I said that when I said I've got 7 more, he grabbed his recorder and he left. But he wrote an article.
One question.
And I was a fruitcake extraordinaire that the Republican Party had raised up to challenge Roth for that position. None of this is on my script, by the way. I'm just following. So then the Daily Oklahoman called. This is so much fun. I'm having fun. You guys seem engaged. Can I continue?
Yeah.
All right. So then the Daily Oklahoman called. No. Then the Journal Record called. And I said, be happy, but I don't do phone interviews. The guy would not come and see me. So I went down to the Journal Record, and I stood in the lobby, and I called the guy on my cell phone. And to see if I could make an appointment. He says, well, I can't right now. And I can't remember exactly what the rest of the conversation was like. And then I said, because I'm in your lobby right now, I could come right in. Oh, yeah, because I knew how bad he wanted the interview. So I went in there to the boardroom, and I sat and I interviewed with the guy. That was another interesting take. I'd been counseled to let the guys interview me and then ask my biblical worldview questions, so I did. Well, when we got done with that interview, I didn't get a chance to ask the 8 questions because he had to go right away. So he left the room before I did. So then the Daily Oklahoman called. Word was out. This guy's a fruitcake. So Steve Lackmeyer and another guy, Brian Dean, I think was his name, they wanted to interview. Well, Brian Dean wanted to interview me, and I said same thing. I don't do phone interviews. They came down to my office to see me. We sat in the boardroom again, except now he brought Steve Lackmeyer with him, so now it was 2-on-1. And I got to share my faith again with those guys. Kind of an interesting experience. So when we got done with the election, like I told you the results, I got smoked. I told my wife, I said, I've lost 15 pounds, I'm depressed, I'm discouraged, I'm sick and tired of running all over Kingdom Come to do this, that, and the other thing, and we need to get small. 5 months later, I'm on staff at Worldview Baptist, 3 miles from home. And that is a really neat story, because I had talked with a guy that had come back to town, and he said, you need to apply for one of our pastoral positions. We're hiring couples of positions. I said, I'm done with the church. You don't know who you're talking to, son. But again, follow the Lord's lead. And long story short, again, the night that I went to meet with them to talk about the position, they wanted me to write the job description. To tell you how bad I didn't want the job, I said, I'm not writing my job description. You guys write it. You want to hire me? You write it. So I thought, done with that. I'm driving to the church that night, coming out of my neighborhood heading south. I turn left to go east. There's a big old stinking rainbow out in the east. And I said, Lord, every time I see a rainbow like that, it's a reminder to me that you said, it's a reminder to you that you would never flood the earth again. And God said, yeah, and you've landed. The storm is over. So I walked into that meeting. I said, you guys can pay me $1. I'm here. I don't care what you say. I don't have much to say other than God just told me. So I spent 7 years there. Now I'm on staff at Fairview Baptist with Paul Blair. We ran Liberty Christian Academy for a couple of years, and well, you guys are clapping too soon. We shut the school down. So now, while I was doing the Liberty Christian Academy as the headmaster there, we're in the middle of a construction project. I was also doing the college career ministry, and this is the really neat part of that whole thing, and that is that we named we would meet on Wednesday nights over at the UCO campus at the NIE Student Union. That's where we would meet. And so what we do, we'd go out and evangelize for the first half hour, 45 minutes, and then anybody we talk to, we'd bring them back to our roundtable discussion. We just discuss worldview perspectives, worldview. And Paul and I had a meeting with another guy to do a little marketing type thing, and then it came out. The name of our ministry is Valid Worldview. If you Facebook hunt us down, you can see what we're up to. But we are a recognized UCO campus organization sponsored by Fairview Baptist Church. Our campus advisor is David Hainan, who is the marching band director who also attends Fairview Baptist. And our mission and our objective and our goals are to equip the college and career age to engage society with a worldview perspective from a Christian worldview. And it is so much fun. Well, July last year, a lady by the name of, a lady came by from 325 East Thatcher Street and asked Paul if he would be interested in purchasing, the church would be interested in purchasing her house, which is across the street from the campus. West, it's off of University and Air, is just a block north of that 7-Eleven there. So a bunch of us went over and looked at the house because I'd been prayer walking the campus saying, Lord, I don't care if it's the size of a closet, we would like a more permanent presence on this campus. Well, the reason she was selling is because across the alley behind her is the mosque. Across the street in front of her is the Mormon Outreach. And the Muslims had just bought the big old 3-story white house right just to the east of her, right on the corner. In fact, they raised it. So she didn't want any more to do with all that. So we purchased that. We're in a process right now of remodeling that. We meet there every Wednesday night. We do apologetics training. We do church there on Sunday mornings as well. We'll do Sunday school, prayer, and worship, and then we'll live stream the message from Fairview into the house there. So that's what we're up to now. Last year we hosted a guy by the name of Khalil Meek, who was a Christian on his way to seminary, became a Muslim. He debated James Walker, who was a Mormon, became a Christian, who now runs Watchman Fellowship. We hosted those two on campus last year to debate Jesus Christ, Son of God or agent of Allah, so to speak. We also hosted Dr. Charles Jackson from the Creation Truth Foundation down in Noble to come in and talk about Darwinian evolution and creationism. We did that on Darwin's birthday, by the way. And then we brought in John Sarfati from Atlanta last year, and he talked about creation as well. So we're engaging the worldview debate on the college campus. This year we had the Skeptics Club come over to the house and sat and talked with us about morality. Man, was that fun. Learned last week that one of the guys that attended that meeting, who has 7 children, had a sex change operation. One of the kids saw him at Starbucks last week and just rocked his world. It's crazy. The challenge with the skeptics, listen up now, The challenge with the Skeptics Club, getting them to your house, is setting a time because they don't believe in absolutes. That's a joke. Hey, we want to meet you at 7. Okay, we'll be there at 7. Oh, so you do believe in absolutes. Pretty tough to pin those people down when you want to do that. But it was a golden opportunity. We loved on them, they loved on us. We're working on another deal where we can do some situation ethics, bring them back over to the house again and do some situation ethics with them. So those are just a couple things that we do with Valid Worldview. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, just like I said, go to Facebook. So, all right, what I want to determine, who's the oldest guy in the house? Raise them up. How old?
80.
80. Who's the youngest in the house?
50.
50?
Oh, no, you're
80 and 50 is what, 130? Divide that by 2, what do you get? 65. The average age in there is 65. Okay? I got some bad news for you guys.
Oh.
You're almost over? You're all over the hill. Yeah. We have got, and I'm saying that for a reason, because we have got to start recruiting the millennials. I teach a course on Sunday night called Cultivate. It's how to mentor the millennials. It's by Jeff Meyer from Summit Ministries. Wow. The millennials are all about fame and money. They've always been told that they're pretty special, because they're the ones that went out for soccer and finished last and still got their participation trophy. And they give them, we went over last week and watched one of the kids that used to be in our school play baseball. He's got cleats, stirrups, sanitary socks, the pants, the belt, the top, with his name on the back, and a helmet, and a batting glove, and a bat. When I was a kid, you didn't get that stuff till you were a teenager. You played in jeans and a white t-shirt. I can't imagine what you all played in. You know? But it's like, seriously? What's going on? But we've got to start one-on-one building into the next generation, because the way they communicate and the effective way to communicate is all out there. The challenge is, it's like Mark Green said, I showed these guys a DVD last night, or a documentary last night, Mark Green from Mardell. He wants to eradicate Bible poverty around the world, and that's what they're doing with the YouVersion app on the iPhones. Anybody have one of those on their iPhone?
I don't have an iPhone, but I have it on my...
Okay, you all have just made that point. So the ability to communicate is, to get the message out is there, but that generation will not get the message. They won't put it in. Why should I put something in me that I've got access to 24/7? And that's how I teach them. Let's talk about whatever the topic is, and I'll say, start Googling it. So they Google, and their phones pop up all this information, and I say, tell me what you're reading, and then we'll go to the whiteboard, we'll start writing that stuff out, we'll figure out what it is exactly that's out there as far as information is concerned. So we've got to start recruiting those guys, all right? There's a term out there called virtual signaling. Anybody ever heard that before? Virtual signaling? That's basically when we make a comment on something that's out there, that might be a hot topic, and what it does is it elevates us that's making the comment, it elevates us above the topic. There's a guy, I can't remember what his name is, just kidding, that keeps kneeling for the national anthem.
Kaepernick or whatever.
Yeah, I'm joking. Okay, the guy's an idiot, his mama told him so.
Yeah.
If you guys saw that. Alright, so the popular modern habit, which is both obnoxious and intellectually lazy, of indicating that one has virtue merely by expressing disgust or favor for certain political ideas, cultural happenings, or even the weather. For example, celebrities who publicly express panic about the environment without knowing much about science are virtual signaling. Can you say Al Gore, boys and girls?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Clueless. How about, well, what we're looking for is a puppet, right? Modern virtue signaling began in the 1960s when cultural leftism overthrew not just the conservatism of the 1950s, but also the vital center of liberalism. The new left of the 1960s was more about rage than reason, and they passed their anger down to their millennial offspring. So the question I have for y'all today is, how many of you go to different meetings like this during the course of the week, and how many do you go to? Boom, 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 right? Hands go up. All right. You guys got your steel tip boots on? Hey guys, we gotta quit meeting just a minute. We gotta get active. If I have an opportunity to go to a meeting or get involved in the trenches, you guys have your meeting, I'm going to the trenches. Because that's where the war is, right? We had a darken the door campaign that we did with the kids. We're just right here. And when you darken the door, what do? You darken the door. Well, that's an old concept that my generation and your generation doesn't understand, right? So here's what we did. I took a Wednesday night and I trained them. I taught them the history of Planned Parenthood. Where did it come from? Why does it exist? What do they do? What do they say they do? How are they funded? Here's how it all started. A while back, I drove up Boulevard, heading north back up to the Thatcher House, which is where we do our ministry. We just call it the Thatcher House. So, as I'm driving by, I'm thinking, Planned Parenthood, right there it is. I pulled in, parked, walked across the parking lot, walked in, stood there and talked to a lady that was behind the counter, and asked her some questions. And she was, obliging. And then I grabbed some literature. I asked her if she had any literature. Grabbed some of that literature, read it, went back to Thatcher House and read it. Subsequently did some more research and learned some more about Oklahoma Planned Parenthood. So then I sent the gal, one of the gals down at Planned Parenthood on 23rd Street, I sent her an email. And I had a couple questions for her, and specifically about, when you say that you have prevented whatever, what exactly does that mean? Because when you train kids in apologetics, and you can write this down if you want, this is free, no charge. When you engage someone in the culture war and in dialogue with worldview perspective, whenever they say something, see, the world is trained to back the Christian into the corner. And whenever anybody says something, you say, what do you mean by that? Okay? I had a kid give an illustration of that the other day. He was telling me something, and I said, your first question should have been, what do you mean by that? Because right away they came to the defense of whatever the topic was. Well, how do you feel about morality, for instance? Well, what do you mean by that? What's morality to you? It might be different to you than it is to me, and you, the Christian, you've just taken their argument on their turf, and you're not even talking about the same thing. So you always have to ask, number one, what do you mean by that? Number two, how did you come to that conclusion? This is the Columbo technique. You just act stupid. I'm just a stupid youth guy. I have no clue. How'd you come to that conclusion? And then Columbo, one more thing, right? He's always acting stupid. I didn't have a problem doing that just naturally in school. Just kidding. My problem was I never asked the questions. I didn't want to look stupid. So then he would always ask, the third question was, have you ever considered, and then fill in the blank. So, question number one, what do you mean by that? Question number two, how'd you come to that conclusion? And then number three, have you ever considered? And right then, have you ever considered, and then fill in the other perspective, Okay, so when that happens, you don't have to claim any ground, you don't have to defend anything. When they ask really tough questions, all you have to do is say, you know what? That's a great question. I never thought of that. Can we get together next week for coffee? And in the meantime, I'll do some research. And now what are you doing? Now you're building a relationship with them, right? And now you've got an opportunity now you've got an opportunity to share Christ. Right? Well, when we did that with the kids, then I sent that email down, and I never heard, and I never heard, and I never heard. And I didn't expect to hear. This is all a technique. So I was downtown one day, and I thought, oh, there's Planned Parenthood. So I pulled in, walked in, talked to the gal behind the counter, and I said, hey, Dave Mehlhaff, I had sent so-and-so an email a while back and hadn't heard from her. Thought, since I was in the neighborhood, I'd stop by and see if she was here. She wasn't there that day. So then I thought, you know what, here's the kicker. The kicker on all this thing is we need to darken the door systematically on everything. I did the same thing when gambling came to Oklahoma City, or to Oklahoma. Remember that? They brought in this big Joe Schmo from Missouri who had run the lottery up there, brought him in, got him a nice big office. I called him. Spent an hour in his office talking about him. Wasn't contentious, just got to know who he was. So I have a habit of getting into the trenches and going and darkening doors of places when they're promoting an agenda that I'm not necessarily in favor of. And so now, I don't talk ignorantly about things, and I typically would hold my peace because I don't want a virtue signal because people that typically do virtual signal don't know what they're talking about, right? So I basically hold my tongue and let everybody else that doesn't know what they're talking about talk. Okay? So I got this idea and I thought, you know what, I need to have every one of these kids. So here's what we did. Like I said, trained them. That night then I went to the whiteboard and I said, all right, couples, guys and girls, couple up. Wrote their names down. All right, when are you going to 23rd? When are you going to 33rd and Boulevard to darken the door to Planned Parenthood? And I even told the kids the questions to ask. Put it on a 3.5 or a half sheet of paper and in-service them, trained them, and all right, have at it. So they chose the days that they were going to go darken the doors. Some of them did it, some of them didn't do it. You guys remember the Protect Life and Marriage Initiative? This thing right here?
Yeah.
The first guy that went in, his name was Jesse Stone. They've just recently, great guys, great kids, he and his wife, just moved to Mississippi. Jesse went in there and he goes, my wife's got me running all over town looking for pregnancy centers that have ultrasound. Do you all have ultrasound here? And they said, no, we don't. Well, there were 2 ladies sitting in the waiting room. He's talking to them through the gal behind the counter. He says, you guys don't have ultrasounds here? No, we don't. Loud enough so that they could hear it. He says, well, you know, there's a clinic right over here, right close to here, that's got free ultrasounds. Who's telling the gal, but reflecting, right? So he comes back and he shares that. So when they go out and darken the door, then they come back and they testify as to what happened. Send a couple out. The challenge in all of this, before I get too far, is 1, deciding, first of all, to pull into that parking lot. What's it do to your heart rate? Right? Pulling into the parking place. Stopping the engine. Getting out. Walking across the parking lot. Pulling on that door handle. Now you're in the stinking reception area and you're going, what the heck am I doing here? So, right? So all you have to do is ask questions. So every time that you do that, what you do is you lower the threshold of fear to the next experience. And that's what we're doing with these young kids. Well, they should be able to dialogue with anybody about anything. So a young guy from Springfield, Missouri had just moved into town, and one of our gals, Kayla, she's now our president of our organization, walked in, and they happened to grab one of these Protect Life and Marriage flyers, took it with them. They're standing in there talking. Now there's 6 ladies in the waiting area, and these guys are having this conversation with this gal behind the counter. And they said, well, asked me a number of different questions, one of which was, well, are there any alternative clinics around here to Planned Parenthood? And she goes, well, I don't know, whatever. He goes, well, can I leave this flyer with you? There are a list of 48 other pro-life, he didn't say it like that, but there are 48 other clinics listed right here on this flyer. And she said, sure. He says, do you think you could maybe like make these available to people when they come in? She said, well, I'll have to ask. Anyway. So one of these Protect Life and Marriage flyers made it into the Planned Parenthood. That's pretty positive, isn't it? It's pretty positive. So that's the darken the door mentality. I'm here to talk about the support your local police. And anybody in Logan County? Damon Devereaux is my new sheriff. I've got his number on here from his push card. I'm going to call him one of these days and see if I can't get a meeting set up with him. But
The devil?
yeah. Support your local police. That is an initiative that the John Birch Society has put together, and it's SYLP. If you ever see it, any Birchers in there? Loud and proud. Less government, more responsibility. With God's help, a better world. Right? But that's their initiative, and so what the Support Your Local Police has done. Well, I thought of doing this before when I started, and that is, I've got the New American, this is a special report, and this is on basically the police issue, support of the police. And I'm not very good at speaking, so I thought I'd come in and read this whole magazine to you. How much time do you all have? Jerome, I know you got till next week. That reminds me of that story of the guy that was the encyclopedia salesman. Anybody ever hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Top salesman of the company. Except he had a problem, he stuttered when he spoke. And so corporate wanted to know how it was that this guy was the top salesman because he stuttered so bad. You could barely understand him when he talked. And so they called him in and they asked him. And it took him a while to get through it. But I think they did break the meeting before lunch. Just kidding. But they ended up learning that his pitch to them was, basically, I'm so-and-so and I'm selling encyclopedias today, and would you like to buy my encyclopedia, or would you like me to read it to you? He said they buy them every time. Oh, man. So just because I want to stay in tune and be honest with what I've been preaching to you all, you guys don't need to hear me talk anymore, do you?
Yeah.
No, seriously. Does this meeting have to go a certain amount of time?
Wednesday's the deadline.
Wednesday? Sweet!
Yeah, we have another meeting Wednesday.
Okay. Another one where you get to sit and listen and go home and say, well, I went to another meeting today. Hey, can you go out and do some push cards with me? No, I can't. I got to go to another meeting. Why are you going to that meeting? Well, because we do it every week. All right? That deal. So what I've done is I have listed every conceivable municipality that's really close to Oklahoma City. And I'll get some more of these out later. And what I would really like is for you all to grab one of those. Like for instance, north of Oklahoma City, we've got Edmond, got Nichols Hills, got Guthrie. East of Oklahoma City, Choctaw, Hera, Nakoma Park, Midwest City, Del City. Got all these listed right here. And conceivably, ideally, here's what I would like for you all to do before you walk out of here. Grab one of those, the one of the municipality or sheriff's office that's closest to you. Gather that information. Come over here and tell me which one you've got, and then take that with you and make an appointment to go see your chief of police or your sheriff. And build a relationship with them, okay? If you don't already have one. If you've already got one, fill that Hummer out and just give it to me before you leave, or you can email it as well. But the initiative here, what we're trying to get accomplished is, first and foremost, it was set up by James Fitzgerald. He's a former Newark police detective. And so we got some solid roots from a guy that knows what he's doing, and he's been there, done that. But our top priority is to get the intelligence, the semi-annual education report for about 11,000 police, local police, county sheriffs, and state law enforcement officers, get that into their hands. We need as many people as we can to build relationship with your chiefs of police and your sheriffs, and to figure out how many they've got on there, how many officers they have, and just build relationship with them, and be the guy that says, you know what, the 6-month report is out, would you mind taking a look at that? And it's going to enlighten them. I have already taken packets of information to to Brennan Claves down in Midwest City, the Del City Police Department. I can't remember if I dropped one off at Choctaw. I don't think I did Choctaw. I did Edmond, obviously, with Chief Ricks. He's soon to retire. And I think I did one other one, probably at campus.
What about the weasel?
No, but I know a guy that lives in this neighborhood.
Really?
Or used to. Here's our mission: protecting the bond that exists between community and local law enforcement through education, programs, and briefings, while offering charitable support for families of police officers killed in the line of duty, offering grants to law enforcement agencies for protective equipment, educational training, and memorials. So what's happening out there in a nutshell is the police forces, because you've got the top down and the bottom up, and they're pressing both from this way. From the top comes Soros and his money and all those different foundations that they run it through. So he gives his money to a foundation. This foundation gives it to all these foundations. And next thing you know, all these foundations are funding the riots and the communist revolution in America today. You guys know that. You understand all that. From the bottom up, it's what? The media, local community opinion-making leaders, profs on campuses. Who else? Media, government, opinion-making leaders, anybody else you can think of that would be working from the ground up?
Education.
Education, rioters themselves, all those are working. So the support your local police and the constitutionality of your local police being under the local authority it's being pressed and thrown out. You're all familiar with the legislation that they introduced back in, let me see if I got it here real quick. My memory is really good. Got to figure out where it is. Oh, yeah. Remember DOD 1033? Anybody ever hear of that? DOD 1033 is that act that allows the government to give military surplus to local police departments. Okay? So up at Fairview, we do every year, we do a luncheon for the police officers and the county officials, and then the police, or the fire departments. And 2 years ago, when Liberty Christian Academy was still open, we took the kids in there because they brought the fire trucks up and all the heavy equipment from the county government. Good grief. So proud of that Hummer sitting there, and so proud of that armored vehicle sitting there, and so proud of this and so proud of that. Well, the Bird Society's been fighting this thing since the 60s, kind of when it started. And what happens is the war on drugs contributes to all of this. And so what they do is they give law enforcement the blank check, so to speak, to start running into these neighborhoods and just searching and seizing without search warrants. Just because they're, what's what I'm looking for? They're just suspicious of your behavior. And it doesn't even have to be any of that. Well, what happened was the HD 1033, listen to this, since its inception it has transferred more than $5.4 billion worth of property. In 2014, more than 8,000 law enforcement agencies have enrolled in the program. And so what they do with all that equipment now is they how do you say it? They prepare it, store it, keep it, and then SWAT team activity rose exponentially after they got all this equipment. It's crazy. So what we're trying to do is find a way to maintain the independence and the local control of the police departments with Support Your Local Police. See if I can throw anything else at you. Yeah, financial and other support tools. Grants to families of officers killed in the line of duty. Educational aid for children of fallen officers through Freedom Project Academy. Grants to support the creation of police monuments, Officer of the Year, and other related awards. So those are things that we can do here with our local police departments. To contribute, it's called LECD, Law Enforcement Charitable Foundation. So lecf-inc.org if you want to go to the site and learn more, or to contribute, become a part of that. The Freedom Project Academy that they announce, or that they reference here, is it's a virtual online classroom that John Birch Society has set up. I had a couple of my students, 3 of them last year, 2 years ago, in Liberty Christian Academy in that program. It is a homeschooling initiative. They sit behind the computer, they've got their headsets and their microphones on, and they're interacting with their teacher and students from around the world, literally, in their classrooms. They had a couple of kids that had kids in their classrooms from Germany, from Switzerland, from Mexico, and all over the United States. So those are some of the initiatives that the John Birch Society is putting together. Again, education for children, police monuments, Officer of the Year awards, community grants to help them buy the equipment that they may need. You know, when the drug war came on, one of the big things was it really didn't take hold until they learned that there was no money for arresting people for rape and anything like that, other domestic issues. But the federal government would give you $500 for every drug arrest. So now you've got all this equipment come from HD 1033. Now you can fund your police department. And if you don't have the morals and the ethics like the sheriff, for instance, up in Milwaukee, man, your ethics go right out the window. Because who are they accountable to? Nobody in the local, right? If there's a police car setting in my neighborhood, he's not accountable to me. The relationship is so important. So that's what I'm trying to get accomplished today, is to try and get you guys agitated enough to grab one of those and say, I'm going to go meet my man and engage in the dialogue and build a relationship with them. So how can you get involved? Action items when you walk out of here. Donate, build relationship, educate yourself and others, meet your local chiefs of police, participate in coffee with the cops. You could set one up. Bare minimum, identify one police officer. Anybody in here know a police officer? How about a deputy? Put them on the front of your prayer line.
You need to bring some donuts for that coffee.
Yeah, well, no, you go there and meet them at the donut shop. Yeah, that's how that works. You can create and coordinate appreciation days, and then, last but not least, probably the most important is commit to leave the herd. You know, we're in this mess because the church has failed miserably. You guys know that, right? So many times it's been, well, we believe. Back to apologetics now. Oh, really? We believe? Who's we? Well, the church I go to. Oh, really? Well, what do you believe? Crickets. Right? So we got to get out of the herd. The herd mentality is going to kill us all. Right? I'd rather get the heck out of there and at least be alive and know that I went down fighting. Alright, so if you need any information on support your local police, I've got all kinds of, I've got a plethora, that's our word for the day, plethora. Got a plethora of information here for you. I don't want to bore you any longer with my pontificating, but we got bumper stickers here, we've got support your local police booklets, and just a truckload of other things. We've got some support your local police stickers, and again, let me be the first to say one more time, grab one of these and see if you can't build a relationship with somebody. Go on record, this is your accountability sheet. Grab one of these, come back over here, write down which sheet you took so that I know who you are and what you took, and we can go from there. Anybody have any questions? Additions?
Stack over there.
Huh?
Put that stack over there.
Any questions or comments, additions, snide remarks? I'll even take dirty looks. No dirty looks?
Yeah, one thing.
Newcastle.
Newcastle? Yep, go ahead.
Edmond has a police academy that's free to the public. I think it's free. And it's about 10 or 12 weeks, and it just goes through
I
everything
can't see it.
Edmond Police does. It's a real good way to get yourself introduced to the Edmond Police Department.
Awesome. I'll put these here. Any other questions? Appreciate the opportunity.